What is your wildest New Year's story? When I was about 6 or 7, I asked my mom what we were supposed to do when it turned to the next year at midnight. My mom made the motion of doing the toast, but didn't explain or tell me any other details. The party stopped for a second, right after I threw my champagne glass at the ceiling. Yes, I live an exciting life. My best New Year's was 1999. I was 9 years old at the time, and worked together with my dad to pull off a prank that I still haven't topped. A few minutes before midnight, I synced up my wristwatch with the countdown on TV. My dad pointed me in the direction of the breaker, which was in our garage, and showed me the lever to pull, which would cut all power to the entire house. Now, I don't know if you remember the hype, but the year 2000 was supposed to destroy all of our computers and technology, sending us back to the Stone Ages. So as the moments grew closer, and I watched the seconds tick by on my watch, it soon became apparent that I wouldn't need it, as I could hear all my relatives counting inside. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. I pulled the lever at the perfect time, and everything went black. The first thing I heard was my aunt screaming, "Oh my god! It hit! Y2K hit!" Now, I was only going to leave the power out for about 10 seconds or so, but the lever got stuck and I couldn't get it back up for about 2 minutes, during which the whole time I heard my family freaking out, until everyone decided to look outside and began to wonder how our neighbors still had power. Thinking back, I really wish I would have recorded that. I probably could have hit the 10,000 on America's Funniest Home Videos. Millennium Party. I was 10, so I didn't get the magnitude, but it was insane. We had about 70 people over. A 10-pound Ghirardelli chocolate cake, which was more of a slab that we broke apart with a hammer. People were dancing until 5 a.m., and several grandmas doing the Macarena in unison. We still find the glitter from that party in the nooks and crannies of the house. Everyone had a blast as the party just kept going, and it took my dad suggesting breakfast to finally get people out of the house. My best New Year's? The last 10 of them, because I spend them with my wife and kid. We live in Detroit, so we go to the basement and have cookies and sparkling grape juice. I call it cowering in the basement, because people like to shoot here instead of ringing bells. The year that I got into a sword fight a few minutes before the ball dropped. I don't quite remember what led up to it, but we decided that sparring was for pansies, and we were going to duel to first blood. Everyone at the party circled around us for the show. I remember that my opponent was very drunk, and I was sort of toying with him, practicing my parries and ripostes, when my best friend's girlfriend screamed. I looked over at her and saw blood sprayed across her face. My opponent went white. My best friend howled with laughter. I immediately began looking him all over to see where I'd caught him. Took me a few moments to discover that my hand was covered in blood. The fucker had clipped the back of my pinky. So, as I stood in the bathroom, patching up a fresh katana wound, using only Jack Daniels, tap water, and toilet paper, I heard the ball drop on 2004. Happy New Year. Dude, trade me lives. Nah, it quiets down as you get older. Several months after that night, I accidentally became the leader of a local small street gang. But I got out of the weirdness business after that. I mean, until that snow-dealing satanic priest decided he wanted me dead, but that's a whole nother story. I'm not even joking either. I live a really messed up life. But you most certainly don't want it. Last December, I returned home after moving 200 miles away, and felt like kind of a failure. I'd tried to be independent and daring in a new city, and lasted less than a year. An old school buddy of mine invited me to a party with people that I hadn't seen in months, and I was excited to see my friends again. I bought a new dress, made a pie, and made my way there. I re-met a guy who I'd known for years, but we hadn't been close before that night. We started talking, and haven't stopped talking since. We actually ended up dating 3 months later. I owe a lot of my confidence and strength from the last year to him, and I haven't been as happy with myself or any relationship I had before this guy came around. I honestly believe that party changed my life. Best New Year's ever, and I'm glad that things didn't work out in that new city. Last New Year's Eve was pretty sweet. I had a great time at a house party with some friends, but the highlight had to be partying with the lady who did the voice of Jimmy Neutron. I even got a recording of her best drunken party trick, wishing me a Happy New Year in her Jimmy Neutron voice. Debbie Derryberry, you're fucking awesome. I have to say the best was probably in Edinburgh a couple years ago. It was the last night open for a legendary goth and metal club called The Mission. To be honest, I don't actually remember much. I was pretty far gone. But I do recall the fact that there were so many people, it actually rained sweat from the ceiling, and we missed midnight completely. When we checked, it had suddenly become 3 a.m. Damn good times. 2006. The host got violently wasted, took off his shirt, and started singing and beating a pair of bongos that he had. Someone guided him into the yard, where he got cold and began banging on the sliding glass door to be let in. Think Rick Moranis from Ghostbusters. Once he got back in, he took a shot of tequila, spilled some, slipped, and hit the table. He then thought the table was attacking him and tried to hit it with a chair, still singing in Greek. At this point, the guests decided that he'd had enough and needed to go to bed. It took 4 guys to carry his body to his bedroom. Once they put him down, he jumped out of bed, got his ankle caught in the sheets, and wanged his head on the dresser. Now bleeding, he took a swing at one of the guys and ran downstairs and had to be carried up again. Finally spent, he passed out while his wife mopped up all the tequila he'd spilled. Her parents and grandparents were in attendance. He was not allowed to have parties for years after this, and his outburst is still spoken of today. Oh, also he pissed in his bed before he caught his ankle getting out of it. And this all happened before 9:30. Host got loaded and violently embarrassed his wife, all well before midnight. And how was this guy married? How was this guy still married? It was 1999, 1 minute to midnight. The anticipation was almost painful, my heart pounding in my chest. There I was, in the service panel room of my condo, my hand on the master breaker for the whole building. I could hear the countdown of the people from floors above. The time grew near, the seconds ticked by. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I threw the breaker. There was a satisfying kerthunk from the battleship gray box, and suddenly the whole building was plunged into darkness. The emergency lighting in the hallways flicked on. There were a few seconds of silence, and then the screams of joy and celebration were quickly replaced with screams of fear and terror, the realization that Y2K was real. The nerds and geeks, those chicken littles, they were right! I waited for the 30 seconds and reset the breaker, and then got the fuck out of there as quickly as I could. An opportunity like that does not present itself very often. You have to take advantage of it when you can. I still chuckle about it to this day. They always do fireworks at the Sydney-Harbour Bridge. One year I booked a boat cruise to see 'em. We were pretty close to the bridge, but there was another boat that was even closer. That boat caught fire, and all the survivors all came onto our boat because we were the closest. Let me tell you, mate, it was a wild New Year's. I was in a band. We'd recently got a pretty attractive drummer. Short, dark blonde, super smart, very cute, and had glasses, which is kinda my thing. She also loved the band Muse, so we'd get high and talk about music for hours. New Year's is around the corner, and one night she randomly texts me. I end up going to a party at her place. I get there and get a huge hug. She has on a tight black dress, and damn, it looks good. I can feel the other guys staring at me. Her and I go and talk for a while, and she says that she's surprised I came. I asked her why, and her response was, I don't know, I just didn't think you would, but I'm just trying to go with the flow in my life right now. Which is why I figured I'd throw you an invite. As the night goes on, we're dancing and drinking, and the countdown begins. The vibe seems right, so I decide to move in for a kiss. Then she has a psychotic episode, like full blown. Turns out, she has a violent case of bipolar schizophrenia. Ended up coming at me with a knife. Had to restrain her while a bunch of other people went and got her meds. We still dated for 2 months after that. Sad to say, we aren't friends anymore. But she was one of the few individuals that I connected with on a very deep level. Kinda bums me out to have someone like that in my life, who I just couldn't work things out with long term. Costa Rica, New Year's Eve 2009. Drunk guy is lighting professional fireworks to celebrate the new year. 12-year-old me was watching a little too close. And, of course, the drunk guy puts the shell in backwards. Rather large explosion. Many eyebrows were lost, not least of all my own. I went with my boyfriend at the time and 3 girlfriends to a gay bar to celebrate. I know that probably sounds weird, but it's one of the best places in my area to dance and usually have a non-threatening good night, especially for the single lady friend with us. Now, this particular boyfriend of mine was a bodybuilder, and he looked really good in tight jeans and a black shirt. I mean, really good. Well, for relatively obvious reasons, a lot of surrounding bar patrons assumed that he was gay. A gay guy plus 4 women at a gay bar equals ladies' night. And I ended up literally fighting off several different guys who were getting way too handsy, and one who even tried to drag him out of the bar. Meanwhile, this very creepy dude, which the bar tends to collect them as well, due to the aforementioned frequent ladies' nights, and this dude in particular decided that he wanted to take home one of my friends. She's maybe 100 pounds sopping wet, so not particularly heavy. Apparently, this guy decided to just pick her up and try to carry her off the dance floor. Luckily, my boyfriend stepped in, forced the guy into the arms of the bouncers, who immediately kicked him out. There's always one. And guys like that, just trying to pick people up and walk off with them, is one of the many reasons why dating sucks for the rest of us. Thanks, asshole. Over 40 people crammed into a tiny Chicago apartment. The toilet clogs, and so everybody in their drunken genius decides that going bathroom and vomiting off of the balcony instead is a much better idea. In the morning, we wake up to see a motorcycle directly below the balcony, completely caked in frozen piss and vomit. Owner was not happy. On that sanitary note, now we move into the rapid fire segment of the video, for stories too short to make a full entry out of, but too good to leave out. Let's jump in. I was 12 and had some lung issues. Took one too many inhaler puffs, lost my shit, got into a fight with the school bully and broke his leg. My roommate kicked a guy out of her house for falling down the stairs. Mine was 3 years ago when I got to bang my first MILF. Last New Year's, I entered the year tripping absolute balls, so that was pretty cool. Last couple New Year's for me were the best ones. Sitting here reading about other people's best New Year's stories. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, Happy New Year's! As always, take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.